welcome back on Market Headlines. IHS Markit announced that Indonesia's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, in January 2021 was at 52.2, up from December 2020 at 51.3. Regarding this, the Minister of Industry appreciated industrial players who were still producing, thus lifting the Indonesia's manufacturing PMI.
IHS Markit announced that Indonesia's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index in January 2021 was at positions 52.2. That figure is up from December 2020 at the level of 51.3. Indonesia's manufacturing PMI has shown an increase for the fourth consecutive months. In addition, the latest increase in the whole sector is the fastest in 6.5 years, and at the same time, the biggest since the survey conducted in April 2011. IHS Markit explained that a solid expansion and an accelerating rate of new orders were recorded during January. This is reflected in a third increase in the number of new business, the strongest since July 2014. Meanwhile, regarding this positive data, the Minister of Industry Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita appreciated the industry players who were still producing so that they raised the Indonesia PMI's manufacturing and hope that this positive trend will be maintained. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Viewers, of course, the increase in Indonesia's PMI manufacturing is promising amidst the massive economic recovery efforts being undertaken. Is it enough just by increasing PMI data, or are there still other challenges? Let's just review it in the following graphics. We're going to the first graphic related to the data of Indonesia's PMI manufacturing. So in the graphic, you can see that the Indonesian manufacturing PMI in 2020 and also January 2021. The Indonesia's manufacturing PMI experienced contraction in early 2020, while on January, the PMI on 49.3 and then increased to 51.9 on February. But in March, April, and May, the PMI decreased to 54.3, 27.5, 28.6, and then on June, July, August, the manufacturing PMI increased 39.1, 46.9 and 50.8, and the positive momentum happened on the last 2020 on September, October, November, and December. 4 consecutive months, Indonesia's manufacturing PMI inclined, and then on January 2021, the PMI at the level of 52.2. The increase in Indonesia's manufacturing PMI indicates an accelerating expansion in the manufacturing sector. This condition also shows an increase in demand, which also affects the increase in production activity. It means that Indonesia's manufacturing PMI has been increasing for the 4th consecutive month, with the increase at the beginning of this year being the fastest in the last 6.5 years. The index achievement at the level of 52.2 was also the highest since the survey began in April 2011. Andrew Harker, Director of Economics at IHS Markit, said that Indonesia's manufacturing sector is still on a recovery path in early 2021. With a positive PMI manufacturing data, is it supported by the realization of investment in the Indonesian manufacturing sector? Let's check the data in the next graphic. So it is investment realization on Indonesia's industry sector. In 2020, the realization reached 272.9 trillion rupiah, or 33% of total national investment realization. The number of realization on industry sector grew by 26% year-on-year, while the top sector destination are food and beverage industry, basic metal industry, automotive industry, and electronics industry. The data is taken from Ministry of Industry. The industrial sector consistently contributes significantly to the national economy through the realization of investment. Throughout 2020, manufacturing investment was able to show a positive achievement, even in the midst of a heavy hit due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The confidence of national industry players to continue to expand is reflected in the achievement of domestic investment. In the manufacturing sector in 2020, amounting to 82.8 trillion rupiah, or grew 14% compared to 2019. In addition, Indonesia is still considered to be an investment destination for global industry players. This can be seen from the achievements of foreign investment in the manufacturing sector in last year, amounting to 190.1 trillion rupiah, or increased 33% compared to the achievement in 2019, which touched 143.3 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, amid signs of economic recovery, one challenge has emerged from the side of inflation and weakening purchasing power. And let's check the data in the next graphic. So it's Indonesia's consumer price index month on month. We can see from January to December 2020, the inflation remained low, and even on July 2020, Indonesia recorded deflation at 0.1%, and August 0.05% deflation, and in September 0.05 deflation, or we can see it minus if we see it from the inflation side. And then on the last months of 2020, on October 0.07%, 0.28% in November, and December 0.45%, it still remained low. And even on January 2021, the inflation or consumer price index only 0.26%, or even lower than December 2020. Head of BPS Suharyanto explained that inflation in January still showed weak demand. The annual inflation rate is 1.55%, lower than December 2020 at 1.68%. He stated that the impact of COVID-19 has not subsided and has overshadowed the economies of many countries, including Indonesia. Mobility is reduced, the economy is moving slowly, and this affects both income and demand. At the same time, core inflation also weakened year-on-year to 1.56%. Meanwhile, in December 2020, the core inflation was 1.6%, and in January 2020, core inflation was 2.88%. And if we look at this data, annual core inflation is experiencing a slowdown, which indicates that domestic demand is still weak. So which cities and sectors contributed to the realization of inflation in January 2021? The data is in the next graphic. So in the graphic, we can see the monitored cities. The highest inflation occurred in Mamuju with 1.43%, the lowest inflation in Balikpapan and Ambon with 0.02%, while the deflation highest in Baobab minus 0.92%, and the lowest deflation occurred in Pontianak with minus 0.01%. And then the inflation contributor came from the first one is food, beverage, and tobacco, and then provision food and beverage or restaurants, and the third one is personal care and other services, and the fourth is health and housing, water, electricity, and household fuels at the top 5 inflation contributor. So Finance Minister Sri Mulyani explained that inflation last month occurred due to supply disruptions, especially natural disasters that occurred in a number of regions. For this reason, according to her, the government will ensure smooth connectivity between regions so that the flow of goods and services returns smoothly. On the other hand, the governor of Bank Indonesia, Peri Warjo, explained that inflation in January was caused more by disruptions of supply due to the disaster. Meanwhile, from the demand side, national production is still much higher. He estimates that inflation will improve this year and will be in the range of 2% to 4% in line with the improving economy. Yes, viewers, hopefully the efforts for economic recovery will continue in synergy among all stakeholders. And stay tuned on market headlines. We'll be right back after the break with information from the capital market.